time to tell a little story about my own personal experience that relates to this painting and is why I painted this. So I had this deep desire to know God through relationship. And from that desire, there were many things along my journey that were called upon for me to do. A lot of hard moments, a lot of hard challenges to overcome. And they presented themselves one step at a time. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have had the guts to accomplish them. But I did over the course of years. And this is a story of prayers and surrendering. A few years ago, fall of 2022, I made a deep commitment and prayer to God, asking God to please allow my desire to guide me only to a relationship that would serve my highest and best, and their highest and best, His highest and best, that we may grow together and know God through our relationship. And I gave it to God, and I trusted that desire was going to lead me to the right person. And desire did lead me to someone very quickly, in fact, like within the day of making the prayer. I kid you not. And I thought it was going to be him. He was the one, but he was not the one. He was someone that I, in time, learned something great from. The next right step in my journey, the next thing I needed to do to prepare for such a man. And so through time and space, I figured that out and then took that step. Here, the story comes to the following year, where I had cleared the way again in a deeper way to welcome in such a relationship, a man that could fill my desire for knowing God through relationship. And so I prayed again, deeply, in a deep surrender. I wrote on a little note card, "Dear God, you know the desires of my heart, true connection and sacred aliveness. I give it all to you." And I put that card on my altar, and I burned some incense, and it felt profound. It felt incredibly important, and it felt so honest. Not, I'll surrender it in hopes that then it'll come to me, but in a true surrender to God. And the very next day, which was exactly a year after meeting that other person who was pointing the next right step on my path without me understanding it. A year to the day later, a man showed up in my world. And it was an amazing connection. We met in person 6 days after meeting online, and it was magical. It was deep, and it was so beautiful. And we spent the first few months here in a bubble of love, in a deep space of true connection and sacred aliveness. And then it was time to enter his world. And I learned that after already committing all of myself to the relationship and to him, and believing for certain that he was my forever person, I found that his world did not feel safe for me. And so entered the clouds of fear and judgment into my experience, into our relationship. And it got hard. In the beginning, we had experienced incredible bliss and the deepest peace I had ever known, coupled together, waves of each. Bliss followed by peace, followed by bliss, followed by peace. It was exactly what I had desired. It was a relationship that was meeting me on every level. It was like heaven on earth. It was this divine union, and yes, I had fully committed to him in that, and I had entangled my energy so completely. And then when life got hard and fear and judgment came in and the challenges arose, I forgot a very key thing. I forgot to continue to hand it over to God and surrender and let God be the one to flow within us and to carry us on our journey. And things got harder and harder. And I had a little whisper, a quiet knowing within me that kept telling me, give it to God, give it to God, give it to God. But in my past, I had an experience where I was in a relationship and I was really excited about it and loving it. And stuff started to feel off. And I said this prayer I had just learned, and it was, show me, please show me. So I had prayed that to God, show me, please show me, thinking God would show me what to do. And my prayer was answered, but not the way I wanted. Where the next time I was with that person, he broke up with me. So now, in this relationship where I'm fully attached and fully committed, and this is my person for the rest of my life, I am hearing, give it to God, Gina. And I couldn't do it. I was far too scared of losing that relationship. So I was clinging to it, and I was saying, no, it's mine. I was saying, no, it's mine. Just let me handle it. I'll take care of it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Let me have it. Don't take this from me. I wasn't trusting. But eventually, the challenges kept coming. And the whisper wouldn't go away. Give it to God, Gina, give it to God. And finally, on a difficult night, together, I told him what I had been hearing for quite a while. And I told him how I had been too afraid to give it to God. I told him how I was grateful that I hadn't yet given it to God, because now we could do it together. We could pray together. And so that's what we did. And it was deep and beautiful and profound. And we asked God to show us what was in the highest and best for myself and for his self and for the good of all. We gave it to God. I had wanted to know God through relationship. And in my clinging attachment to the relationship, to wanting what was there in the beginning, I had edged God out, right? Ego, edge God out. Wayne Dyer says that. I had edged God out, and I was like, no, it's mine. Let me control it. It's mine. Stay back. My ego had edged God out in my attachment to this human, to this being, and to what I thought that relationship could provide me with, because it had at one point. And I wanted more of that for the rest of my life. I had forgotten to trust God and to trust life and to trust the universe. And so I remembered I finally gave in and said, okay, I trust you, God. And we had that prayer of surrender. And within 2 weeks, he ended it. And it was over. And I had gotten my answer. It was my call to trust. And it was the deepest pain I have ever felt thus far. And in my grief, which was so strong and so full, and entirely unavoidable and relentless, in my grief, there were times where my body started to go into a pose. Hands up, open, surrendered. And my feet were like this. And it was happening. And through that physical happening, I was like, oh, wow, that's like what Jesus was like on the cross. I guess I'm on my own cross. This is my own personal crucifixion. Like my own releasing of attachment to the physical form of that relationship. I'm so grateful for my body for showing me that, because it called forth the remembering. I'm grateful for the story of Jesus because it was there for me. Remembering his prayer of thy will be done, his trusting God, even to his path carrying him to his death, to his great suffering and crucifixion, and remembering his story of how through his earthly death, through his faith, through his connection with God, he was able to come back to life, to come back from the dead, and to really show us through his Christ consciousness what it means to trust God and what it means to be connected, to show love, to give love, and to be love all the way through it. And so I leaned real heavy into Jesus' story of his crucifixion. I grabbed this giant of a book. This is the second volume. I have both, and I have not fully read them, not even close to fully read them. But this is The Second Coming of Christ by Yogananda. And the subtitle is The Resurrection of the Christ Within You. This is volume 2, and in it, Yogananda speaks of the message and the story of Jesus' crucifixion and how it is a call to us to come into and embody the Christ consciousness within us. I know when I was in Waldorf teacher training, we read a lot of Rudolf Steiner, and Rudolf Steiner said at some point, and I'm paraphrasing, this is just based on memory, but that if we only understood the true meaning of the death of Jesus Christ, of his crucifixion and the resurrection, that it would change everything. And that birthed a curiosity in me that has been there since hearing that. And I can't say I have it figured out, but I can say after the worst winter of my life so far, my own personal experience of what it felt like to be in the most pain of my life, that now I understand the story of Jesus and his crucifixion more than I ever have. So during that time, the only painting I did was this one. It's a combining of symbols across spiritual beliefs. I am a highly spiritual person, but I am not religious. I was raised Catholic, and now I count myself a bhakti yogi. But I also feel like any path that helps us remember our connection with life, the universe, and everything, any path that helps us live in love, live truly in love, any path is the right path if we can embody and live love. And so I lean into all the spiritual teachings that I can that help me do that. And here in this painting, we have the symbolism of Jesus Christ on the cross, being crucified, with the dark clouds of fear and judgment that have taken this incredible life. This being who was here to show a new way, to show the way of love. But the authorities, this is so timely, you guys. The authorities, those in charge, were afraid. They wanted to be the ones in charge, and they could see how this one man, the son of a carpenter, was putting their power at risk by empowering each person to know love and to know how to live in love and to bring about their own Christ consciousness. They were going to lose control of the people, and they could feel it. It is timely, isn't it? A good time. It's always a good time to remember. So, in their fear, they decided to crucify the Son of God, the human who embodied the divine. So we have our symbolism here of that of the death. And then we have the lotus, a symbol of both Buddhism and Hinduism, both that have this same theme to it as Jesus' death and rebirth. In Hinduism, there is a triangle, like a triad of gods that are like the main supreme ones in a way. They are the cycle of life. We have Brahma, who is the creator. And then we have Vishnu, who is the sustainer. And then we have Shiva, who is the destroyer. So we have life, the continuation of life followed by death. And then life, the continuation of life followed by death. And it is this circle of life that happens everywhere, always, in everything. It's happening right now in your life, in every aspect of your life. Every aspect is on some place along that circle of birth, continuation of life, or death. And so the lotus brings in that element of Hinduism as well as Buddhism. In Buddhism, there is the saying, no mud, no lotus. The lotus grows by being planted in the muckiest mud. It requires that to take root and to bring about the beauty of the lotus flower. The pink lotus is a symbol of spiritual awakening, of enlightenment, of rebirth, renewal, new life. No mud, no lotus. That is the saying. I painted this painting here as a visual reminder for myself of the message of hope, the beauty of rebirth, the new life that is possible through the surrendering to the death that is at hand. No mud, no lotus. We need the muck in order to grow and to ascend into deeper levels of our own spiritual awakening. And the Christ consciousness that was willing to step into God's plan and allow in order that the highest and best for all could come. In order for us to know the story of Jesus and the teachings that he taught. He was here teaching us love. He was here teaching us to love our neighbor and to not judge, but love instead. He was teaching us to care for the sick and to feed the hungry. He was teaching us that through faith we could move mountains. Through our connection to the Holy Spirit, we could live a divine life. Let these images be a visual reminder to you, as I have made them as a visual reminder to me. This painting is called Thy Will Be Done. And it tells a story of relinquishing the ego's control and instead surrendering to God's plan and to the Holy Spirit moving through us to do the will of God, to bring love to this earth and to these people. We all so desperately need more love, not less. And so if there is any teaching out there that is calling itself connected to Jesus, that is causing you or anyone you know to judge and to hate and to shout, crucify him, please let it be a red flag that that is not the truth. That is not what Jesus came here to show and teach us. That is the powers that be that want to control us and keep us from our own empowerment and from our own ability to connect with the Holy Spirit with the divine, ever-changing moment and be love. It's really hard to control someone who is connected to God and who is love embodied. Even in murdering Jesus, they could not control him. The stone was moved away from the tomb, and he was resurrected. Body, mind, and spirit, all of him was back here on earth to show that the deep power of love cannot be controlled, no matter what. God's light and love can shine through if that is all we focus on. So, yeah, I needed this. I needed this, and I needed the teaching and the message of Jesus Christ and his sacrifice to help me remember that I can carry my own small crosses, and I can let myself, my small self, my ego self, my wants and desires of that small ego self of mine, I can let them be put upon the cross and die, if that is in the divine will, if that is what God has in store for my soul's highest and best and for the good of all. And so that is where I will stand, and I have stood. Even in the deep grief, I thank God that I had surrendered it to God. Even if that's what made the relationship end, I can trust and believe that it was meant to end. And I am not in the place of this blooming lotus. I am not in full embodied Christ consciousness. And though I can look to that and remember that that is my deepest desire of how I want to live. Thy will be done, dear Lord. Please move through me. Act for me. Think, speak, and be with me and through me. Do this for me, dear Lord. That thy will may be done for my highest and best and for the good of all. Not my ego's highest and best, but my capital S self's highest and best. Whatever my soul came here to experience. And so this painting is a reminder to me and to all who resonate with it. A visual reminder that there's no lotus without the mud. That there sometimes is a call to deeply surrender into our own pain and our own loss and the death of what once was. And in that surrendering, there will be a time when we will be reborn, when beauty will come again, when the sun will shine. So I want to read to you a little tiny bit from Yogananda's Easter wish for us in this book, The Second Coming of Christ. This is my Easter prayer. May all true devotees of God uplifted by the transparent purity of their lives, begin to radiate the infinite light, equally present in all, even as Jesus did. And remember the long-forgotten truth that they are all potential sons of God. Behold thine immortal self resurrected with Christ in the illuminating light of Christ consciousness, present in every soul, every flower, every atom. Remember Jesus' message, Jesus Christ's message, the embodied Christ consciousness of love, serve, and remember. Be still and know that I am. We are. Christ, the illuminated light of Christ's consciousness present in every soul, every flower, every atom. Be still and know that I am. Behold thine immortal self resurrected with Christ in the illuminated light of Christ's consciousness, present in every soul, every flower, every atom. Be still and know that I am. He didn't write that here, but that's such a thing we hear, right? And see. Let us remember. Be still and know that one sacred light that is present in everything, that is connecting us to everything and to God, that we may remember the long-forgotten truth, still so forgotten so often, that we are all the potential sons of God. When we can be and breathe in love, we are embodying Christ consciousness. And when we forget, as we do, I know I do, I lean as heavy as I can into whatever it is that can help me remember. And so everything I am sharing is to both help me remember and to help those who resonate with what I am sharing remember that one sacred light, that Christ consciousness that is within us, that we can tap into and be and breathe in order to help be the change we wish to see. So I hope my little story helps and serves. It would help me know that new life can come from that death that did occur, that cross that I did suffer with and on. And I have music to share, playlists. I have a lot of playlists to share to help us remember this one sacred light that we are. So check below and link up with me through that if you would like access to some little playlists for your own empowerment, that you may live and breathe and remember the light within you. So the authorities that are yelling and fighting to control us have no say. That we can overcome and live in the truth of remembering and knowing who we truly are. Because that is the energy and space of which we can change this world for the better. I believe it was was Einstein who said something along the lines of, you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. And with all that is happening in the world, and especially here in America, we cannot solve the problem by throwing more division and hate and fear and judgment around. It's not going to solve anything. But standing in the foundation of this is all God, we are all connected, we are all one, and if we can only live in love and in trusting life and in really living the Holy Spirit within us, that's where we can really shift things. That is where we can change the world and bring about more beauty, love, and joy, and peace. So, how about it? Let's do it, huh? I know it's hard, and I know it's easy to forget, but this is the call. This is the great call. This is what we've been training for. It is the time. It is the time to make this our top priority. To trust God and to ask God to flow the Holy Spirit through us, that we may bring about more love through our own Christ consciousness activating within us, that we may activate within the world the highest and best, for our highest and best, and for the good of all. Thank you for joining me. If you like this, watch this next. I really appreciate you. Sending so much love to you. Blessings.